Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. For today's art, I'll be drawing goddess Saraswati. According to the Indian mythology, the Indian Hindu mythology, she is the goddess of wisdom and knowledge. So any form of wisdom or any form of knowledge, be it educational, studies, art, and music, dance, she is the goddess of them all. And I come from the state of West Bengal in India, which for us, we have a celebration called Saraswati Puja around the time of end of January or February. And it's a huge celebration for us. We wear new dresses, go out, we have good food. There's a puja that goes on, a worshipping ceremony that goes on at home. Everybody's home actually. And it's a big thing. Especially for children who are in school or college, they usually celebrate this a lot because they try and get all the blessing from the goddess to score well in the exams or to have like a good, repository of knowledge in them. So it's a huge thing for us. And today I'll be trying to create an art that shows the Lord, the goddess in all her glory. So a little bit about her is that she traditionally, she sits on a lotus, and she has a goose as a vehicle, a swan, a goose, whatever you would like to say, a swan, I guess, and a white swan is what she has as her vehicle. And she's seated on a lotus, and she has a veena as an instrument that she plays. Traditionally, she is the goddess who is considered pure and serene. She resembles serenity, she resembles purity, and she is a goddess which is very unusual for an Indian goddess to be not represented with a lot of colors and a lot of ornaments and jewelry. She is somebody who wears a white sari or a very light colored dress, sari especially. But here I wanted to make this inspired from Indian folk art, especially West Bengal folk art. So the art that I'm doing over here is inspired from something called Pottochitro, which is a folk art in West Bengal, and in many villages this art is still practiced, and that's what I tried to do over here. So if you look at the drawing that I made over here, it doesn't look like a traditional human, like a realistic human. It's kind of imaginatory with big eyes and like a bigger face than the body. So this is what I tried to resemble, and I tried to do something inspired from Pottochitro, which is a folk art in West Bengal. I usually always prefer to sketch out with a pencil, and over here I have done the same. So if I would have drawn a realistic drawing, I would have used the pencil, very, very light strokes of pencil. But since this is a traditional art that I've been doing, oops, I dropped the brush there. This is a traditional art that I'm doing, so I've used darker pencil shades and heavy strokes over here, because I'll be anyway bordering up the art, and I needed those distinct lines to create those borders for this art. The colors that I've been using here is gouache paints, and I'm using this because the colors here are very vibrant, and I wanted it to be a very bright drawing. I wanted everything to look very vibrant and have a lot of depth in it. So I've been using the brightest of the colors to create this art piece. Traditionally, Saraswati, Lord Goddess Saraswati, she always wears something very light colored. Usually, if you Google her up, you will see dresses which is not very bright. She always usually wears a white sari or a yellow sari, always a light colored one. So over here, I just wanted to create a bit more, create something a bit more vibrant. So I have used the yellow color, which is something that she wears. And even in West Bengal, when people go out, girls, they wear this color. Yellow colored saris is a very common wear for the occasion of Saraswati Puja. And usually every girl, not every girl, but most girls, they wear yellow saris and they go out to visit the pandals. If you don't know what pandal means, pandal basically they're temporary temples created for the goddess to have to worship her basically. And once the occasion is over, in a day or two, those pandals are broken down. Those temporary pandals, they're built basically of bamboos and cloth, They built the structure with bamboos, and they put cloth and different other materials like thermocol to create different designs and depths. So here, the veena I have made is not a traditional veena. Veenas are usually much larger because they're really big. But since in this art, I wanted to create something something inspired from the folk art. So I've created the veena a little smaller than usual, and I wanted it's not held this way either. But then in the page I had to fit the entire veena, otherwise it wouldn't have looked good. So I have made it hold in a different. I have made a hold in a different way. Coloring this was actually was very easy actually for this one. The reason being that since it's not a realistic drawing, so I did not have to do a lot of shadows and a lot of light and shadow work. It was basically one color, on top of which later I'll add a few more details to it with a bit of shadowing and light effects. Just like how I was saying in the beginning that she is the goddess of knowledge and wisdom, hence what we do basically is when we were children, we also did this. We took some books and we kept it beside her so that she could, help us concentrate. Now, as an adult, I don't see the point of it, but then it used to be a big thing for us, like keeping it by her foot and touching her foot to get all that help from her to concentrate in our studies and score good marks and get all the knowledge that we can about that particular subject. So we used to take all our books and put it beside her, and at the end of the ceremony, at the end of the puja, we used to take flowers from her foot and we used to keep inside the books. Every book, a few petals of flowers that we used to offer her, we used to keep it inside the book, so that throughout the year she'll help us concentrate in our studies and help us fetch good marks. Now that I look back, it's kind of stupid, but as child, it was a big thing for all of us. Since she is considered the goddess of purity, she resembles purity and serenity. So I have kind of given her this Zen look by like the eyes half closed, and she's calm and composed. Whereas some of the other goddesses according to the Indian mythology, like goddess Durga or goddess Kali, they are always angry. They're considered the goddess of power and rage, and they're always angry. But Saraswati is on the other side of the spectrum. She is calm and composed and quiet and serene and pure. So I tried to give her the Zen look on her face with the eyes half closed and a slight smile on her face, so that she looks, in that Zen phase. I started highlighting with the hair. I felt this would be easy to do, and I highlighted her hair and created some lowlights using the pitch black color, and then I went on to color the swan. Keeping it entirely white seemed a little blunt, so I have colored it using a light blue and highlighted and created some shadow effect with a heavier stroke of that same color. And I am drawing the halo orange. I'm coloring the halo orange, and then I am doing the beak as well in the different shades of the color orange. As I mentioned, she doesn't. It's not traditional to make her wear a lot of jewelry. So I have kept it very light, just a few necklaces, earrings, and a very light tiara. It's a crown actually, but I've designed it in the kind of like a tiara, Indian tiara, if you would say that. And now I'm creating these shadows on her arms, her face, her neck, just to create some depth and to give it a little bit of light and shadow effect, so that it looks a bit more vibrant and detailed, and it creates the effect of shine and light and shadow. creating the shadows was actually very fun for me. I just kept it very simple. I kept the right side as using my right side. I kept as that side as the darker part, and the left side as the lighter part. So I imagine that the light is coming from the left side, from the left side of the page, and I created the light and shadow effect that way. And it was very simple. I kept it very simple. Actually, I did not want to add too much detail because then it would, it would not look it would not give me the exact look that I was going for, like somewhat traditional, somewhat folk art, and still a bit of realism touched upon it. I wanted to get that look, but adding too much of detailing with the light and shadow, it would have created, it wouldn't have achieved that look. I wouldn't have achieved that look. Now I created a mistake while coloring the lotus. I did not pick the right color, and I did not mix the right colors, and it became like a very fluorescent pink, and it wasn't looking good. So I had to recolor the entire lotus using using a color closer to the pink, the realistic pink color that I wanted to do. And before that, I used just the raw pink, and it became fluorescent, and I did not like that. So I recolored it, added some light, added some shadow, and corrected the lotus that I had drawn. Now I'm adding the strings to the veena that I had drawn. I'm almost at the end. I'm just adding the final touches to the light and shadow effect. I have already completed the goddess. Now I'm just adding the lights and shadows to the veena, to the lotus, to the books that I created, and just adding the final touches. Once that is done, I'll be creating the borders for my drawing. And this time I wanted to just paint using only gouache. So I did not use my pens to create the borders. I used my thinnest brush that I had, the zero brush, and I created the borders. I decided that the background was looking a little too white, so I decided to color it using a lighter shade to create a good background, to give it add a bit more color to my drawing and make it look a bit more vibrant. So I used a lighter color and created a background for the goddess. And here I am. I started bordering. I used gouache itself to border, and I used the lightest brush to create very thin strokes. Wherever I needed, I bordered almost every part of it, and I wanted to create this depth. And I always feel in folk art, borders play a very important role, because that's what it creates a distinction. Because in realistic drawings, we don't border, right? It just makes it look not non-realistic. But over here, since this drawing is itself unrealistic, I wanted to create the borders, and I wanted to give it a bit more depth, a bit more, to create distinctions of the different things that I've drawn in this art. And I have used borders over here to create that distinction, to create those, to create that difference in the different parts of the drawing. Creating the borders did actually take me a lot of time, and it was quite difficult because with a pen I can just use the same stroke. I can use the same pressure on all the strokes because it will still create the same depth, the same width of the line. The width of the border will still be the same. But with a brush, I had to be extremely careful with the amount of pressure that I applied to create the strokes, because a small mishap and it would create more pressure would have created like more broader lines, and lighter pressure would have created lines so thin that it wouldn't be visible and it wouldn't look good. So I had to be extremely careful with the borders, because I had to apply a similar pressure on every stroke that I was making. So it was kind of a lengthy process, and it took a lot of time. So I'm almost done with the bordering. I'm just bordering the lotus, and then I'll have to border the books, and I'll be done with the bordering part, and everything will be bordered. As you can see, I did not use too many colors on the goddess because, as I said, she is the goddess who wears very light jewelry, very light colored sari, and she is going to be dressed in very light colors. And here I am after a work of 12 hours. I'm finally done with my art piece, and here is my drawing, the completed artwork. Please don't forget to follow, subscribe to our channel, and like our video, and share it with everybody. Thank you for watching.